Hello, today we're going to talk about the vascular supply of inner ear. The vascularization of the inner ear has important clinical implications. The labyrinth is supplied by the labyrinthine artery, also called internal auditory artery, which usually originates from the anterior inferior cerebellar artery. Occasionally, it might be a branch of either the basilar or the vertebral arteries. The internal auditory artery, or labyrinthine artery, subdivides into two branches. The first one is the anterior vestibular artery, and the other one is the common cochlear artery. And this artery divides into two arteries, the vestibular cochlear artery, and the other one is the main cochlear artery. So, the anterior vestibular artery supplies part of the saccule, utricles, and semicircular ducts. The common cochlear artery divides into the vestibular cochlear artery, as I said, and this supplies 1/2 to 2/3 of the basal coil of the cochlea, the greater part of the saccule, the body of the utricles, and the posterior semicircular duct, and the parts of the lateral and superior semicircular ducts. And this artery, as I said, divides into two arteries. The first one is the posterior cochlear artery that supplies the base of the cochlea, and the other one is the posterior vestibular artery that supplies the saccule and the posterior semicircular canal. And the other artery that it is from the common cochlear artery is the main cochlear artery, and this supplies the remaining parts of the cochlea. Sometimes the main cochlear artery might be missing, and it is then replaced by the cochlear branch of the vestibular cochlear artery. About the labyrinth venous drainage, the labyrinth venous drainage is via the vein of the cochlear aqueduct. The apical and basal spiral modular veins drain appropriate parts of the cochlea, and there might be additional drainage routines of the cochlea formed by connections with vessels and the surrounding bone, and with veins of the internal auditory meatus, or the internal auditory veins. The venous drainage of the semicircular ducts and vestibule is provided by the anterior and posterior vestibular veins, which in turn drain into the vein of the cochlear aqueduct. Severe inner ear cochlear and vestibular loss results after 30 minutes of interrupted blood supply, and also the internal radial arterioles don't circle the entire cochlear section, especially at the stria vascularis and spiral ligament regions. Another clinical consideration is the first one is that labyrinthine artery is a terminal artery, and its occlusion and the occlusion of the AICA cause total deafness and total loss of vestibular function on the affected side. The anterior vestibular artery has no collateral arteries that can internally supply its corresponding areas. Its obstruction can result in a vertiginous episode. Occasionally, this obstruction liberates utricular otoliths that reach the posterior semicircular canal. In these cases, episodes of postural vertigo will occur after the compensation of a sudden vertigo. The name of this disease is Linsen-Hemingway syndrome. Another clinical consideration is that the posterior vestibular artery has many intrusive collateral that might compensate its eventual obstructions. And the last clinical consideration is that the circulation deficit, including the common cochlear and the posterior vestibular arteries, might determine high-frequency hearing losses.